It seems like the cap and trade legislation is probably one of the most expensive and burdensome ways to get this cost on carbon. And I'm wondering if there's political will to just say, well, let's have a carbon tax. I mean, call it what it is, a fee, whatever you want to call it, right? There's a lot of tricky word calling there, but that seems like the most efficient way to do it. I've been in the business a while. Whenever prices go up, our phone rings. It's a direct correlation, and it's been, as you said, artificially low for many years. So is there now political courage, political cooperation out there? Is that what you heard in Washington? For a tax, or is it cap and trade? Are we still talking?
One of the great concerns that I had in hearing our legislators talk is their desire for there to be no losers in this, only winners. And the truth is, if you're going to provide a market incentive, if you're going to provide a market signal that you want the market to move in a particular way, there are going to be, the early adopters are going to win before the late adopters are. And I don't know if you can do that and if the goal is to make sure that everybody wins, then it doesn't work at all. The point is to create a market signal that says, we're going to make this part of a cost structure that goes into a product or into a business more expensive. And we're going to give you the incentive to move towards being more efficient, to conserving. The example that Terry talks about back 30 years ago, when fuel was expensive and in some cases hard to get, it's amazing how innovative America became at saving energy. And we simply want to stimulate that same spirit of innovation towards what we believe is the right direction to move this in. The alternative is to wait. Inevitably, we're going to be moved in that direction. Sooner or later, fossil fuel is going to get so expensive and so unreliable that the early adopters will benefit without legislation. The question is, do we want to manage that transition, or do we want to have it be chaotic and abrupt? And in our opinion, a managed transition is far preferential to a unmanaged chaotic transition.
What I would also add to what Todd just said, as an economist, there are signals that can be brought into an economy. The question is, have the signal, how soon do the impacts have to take place? So one of the big discussions that's going on is if there is to be a price on carbon, however it's done, from cap and trade, from other pricing policies, there are a lot of ways of going about it. Does it have to, at this point in our economy, when our economy is so vulnerable and we need to create jobs, do we want to penalize people now? So I think it's pretty clear that's not going to happen. But there seems to be a sense that it's something that can be phased in over time, and if people know it's going to be happening and they have time to adapt over 10 years or whatever the time is, then banks and the whole economic system will start moving in that direction. So you can actually have signals that are sent, but give businesses time to adapt and not hurt jobs and actually create jobs. So I think that's part of it. And the other thing that I would just say is that the words cap and trade don't ring very well for a lot of people, and the words, obviously, any kind of tax don't ring well. But there are some initiatives to look at, for example, cap and dividend, where actually Americans would get back money so that they won't feel such a negative impact, but it still sends the price signal. So that's one of the approaches. And we talked to Senator Franken about what we call tax shift, where you get rid of employee taxes and you put it onto resources and you phase that in over time. So I think that there's some ideas, but it's a very touchy subject, and we think that we're probably going to need some new language to talk about it to really build a consensus of Republicans and Democrats. This has to get done.
One of the other things that we heard while we were there that was shocking, actually, to me, was first off that there are more than 2,000 lobbyists from big businesses representing the old economy to less than 200 advocates for a clean energy economy. And so there's a lot of airtime being heard by these representatives in Washington by those that are opposed to anything that's going to cap carbon. So we need to be heard. Our message was, please cap carbon and please pass a clean energy bill now by Earth Day. There's a lot of resistance to that because it's an election year, and they feel that if they take a stand on something challenging and difficult like that, they will alienate constituents. And so we would like your help in getting that message out that we need a cap on carbon whatever they decide to do with it, perhaps there are many ways that haven't yet been discussed, but we need to cap carbon and we need to do it now.